Hey guys, first regards right here, I'll be talking about every single heroic weapon in Space Marine 2 patch 14, and just my overall thoughts on them. Now, we are on the public test server for this, and there are some weapon discrepancies here that are kind of ridiculous at the moment, so I want to go through all of them, talk about things like the Combi-Flamer, the brand new Melta Rifle for the Salamanders variant, and just where their power levels are currently lying. Now, the big winner of this patch, in my opinion, is the Combi-Flamer. The Combi-Flamer is pretty much just a bolt carbine, which is already a top tier option with a Pyroblaster attached to it, which is pretty nice. Now, the hero perk effect here is obviously called a combi weapon. You can use an alternative Pyroblaster firing mode accessed through the augmented vision scope mode. So with this weapon, you don't really care about low accuracy at all because pretty much every automatic bolt carbine already takes the perk here, Home Precision, for a 50% reduced maximum spread, and on this variant that just helps it out even more because you basically never have to aim down your sights and waste your Pyroblaster ammo or lack that extra zoom. So really good combination there. Now, I will say there are some weird discrepancies this patch between weapon stats where even though these both have an 8 firepower, this bolt carbine actually does less damage on the headshot than the standard one does, but that being said, it's still pretty strong. And now the ones I think are kind of lacking is stuff like the Stalker bolt rifle. This heroic perk effect is called Auspex shot. Landing 5 successful shots in short succession creates a small Auspex scan area. Cooldown is 8 seconds. This is actually a pretty good perk effect in theory. Unfortunately, the public test server for patch 14 is the buggiest test server we have ever had, and this perk is just not working in my experience at all, which does kind of suck. But as far as decent options go, this one seems pretty alright with this perk effect here, and the Combi-Flamer, this is definitely a pretty good option. It'll probably get buffed even more in the future because at the moment, any ammo regen effects like ammo caches, ammo boxes, anything outside a loadout station will not give you back Pyroblaster ammo, and I'm sure that's a bit of a bug. Now, as far as ones I think need serious work, we're going to talk about the Salamander Melta Rifle. The Salamander Melta Rifle is hilariously bad right now. The heroic perk effect here is called Thermal Charge. Shots have increased range and narrow spread, but need to charge before firing. So you're thinking oh, that sounds pretty good. It sounds like a lore accurate Melta where I just charge up my shot and I one-shot the dude at range. Well, unfortunately, this weapon has the exact same base damage as a normal Melta rifle does right now, which means your per shot damage here is garbage for how long it actually takes to charge up. So this one needs an enormous damage boost in my opinion. I mean, really, with how long this one takes to charge up, it should just one-shot a Majoris. Maybe that's a crazy take, but I mean, this is a Melta rifle. I think this thing should just one-shot a Majoris. If we already have things in the game like a heroic plasma that can damn near one-shot Extremis with the proper setup, this one-shotting Majoris I think is pretty fair because it does take forever to charge up, and also Melta rifles are supposed to be the premier boss killers or the premier, heavy armor killers in 40k alongside things like plasma, so I think it fits the whole aesthetic. Now, as far as the melee weapons go, since a lot of people have asked me about this one, the Deathwatch Power Fist. This weapon, I hate to say it, guys, it kind of sucks, okay? You might look at it initially and think 16 strength, hey, that sounds pretty good. 6 speed, that's pretty fast. 13 clean potential, not too bad. Balance, I'm not a big fan, but I can work with that. And the hero perk effect here is, of course, called Burning Impact. Pause after any light attack to enter a stance, and then light attack again to fire a Melta Blast and inflicts the burn status. So that all sounds pretty cool until you realize that the Burning Impact effect, basically, there is no tracking on this. Once you do a light attack, you will be stuck in the animation, just wherever your character was facing. You cannot turn your character at all. It doesn't matter if you lock onto enemies, and the cone of the burn is god awful. So this weapon really needs to have a huge buff to this Inferno portion because at the moment, when I played around with this in a different game, it just felt like I was using a worse relic tier block or balance power fist because the Inferno portion just does not come into play. It's actually one of the worst weapons of all the Power Fist options against Minoris because the Inferno portion, despite being what you'd expect to be a top tier Minoris killer, is really god awful. I honestly can't express how bad this actually is. I got gaslit into thinking this one was good, but it is unfortunately shit for now. But hopefully they fix that. So major changes for this one, I would say please buff up that cone. Please allow us to lock onto enemies and track them with the Inferno portion. Now, another weapon here is the Lord Executioner's Axe. This is a heroic Thunderhammer. I know, it's a little weird because it's an axe here. And the heroic perk effect here is called Whirling Strike. Aftershock is replaced by a powerful spinning attack. Hitting 5 or more enemies with a single attack grants 1 Adrenaline Surge stack. So we have a 14 strength, 4 speed, 7 cleaving weapon here with defense type block. That is pretty good on a Thunderhammer, and the 4 speed is pretty nice for stuff like Seismic Chain and Shattering Impact. My issue with this weapon is that Aftershock is just way better than the Whirling Strike is. The Whirling Strike is pretty fun to use, but like if you were to take this against Chaos, you're kind of screwing yourself over. Like the extra AoE on a normal Aftershock or like a normal Thunderhammer is just way better for Horde Clear, and I think this one needs a tremendous buff on its AoE on the final attack, because on this weapon, if you do take a perk like Aftershock Improved, this will give you a final slam after the spin, but that final slam feels way more like the normal attack of a non-shattering impact ground slam. So you don't really hit a lot of guys, and you very often miss, and that's kind of like the opposite of what you want with any Thunderhammer variant. And on a side note, even though this one does have a different animation for the Rolling Strike, there are no new execution animations on this one, which does kind of make it feel like a very gimmicky, weirdly implemented, modded weapon at times. But that being said, maybe they'll put in like a new execution animation for it one day. But for now, I think this one is like middle of the road. It's not bad. Like if you want to use this one, you definitely could. I think it still works pretty well. It can be pretty fun. It's just definitely not a top tier option. Now, the final one here is the Burning Power Sword. This is the one everybody has been asking about. They're like, oh, it's a Burning Salamander's Power Sword. Surely this thing lights people on fire. No, it does not light people on fire. The heroic perk effect is actually called Nocturne's Retort. Perfect parry to empower the blade and deal 1 more damage with the next light attack in speed style. Hold up to 5 empower stacks. The parry window is smaller. I don't know who the hell came up with this thing. I mean, this is just a god-awful heroic perk effect. Maybe not god-awful, but like losing your parry window for a perk effect like this, I don't know what we're cooking, okay, guys? Because we would look over at other weapons like Argent Edge. The Argent Edge also has a reduced parry window. We know why the Argent Edge has a reduced parry window is because the Argent Edge is cracked. Each perfect parry will damage an enemy. Each perfect parry will stagger them on the first parry no matter what if they are a staggerable enemy. And that is so ridiculously powerful in this game that you look at the reduced parry window and you're like, oh, you know what? That's pretty fair. It's a fair trade-off. It's like the only trade-off, and this is still like the top fencing weapon in the entire game. In the case of this one, I mean, you're giving up all of your damage pretty much for like a slightly different fencing weapon. Well, maybe not like giving up all your damage, but it's pretty much just a side grade to the normal fencing power sword. The normal fencing power sword is already just like an intimidating aura trigger machine. And you're also giving up ground pound damage on this because the ground pound damage of your assault class is based on the base damage of your weapon. So if you have 11 plus, or like 11 strength here, this will take down the total ground pound damage you are doing for like what, some extra light attack damage. The thing about Space Marine 2 is that at the moment, light attacks just kind of suck, and the biggest use case scenario for this weapon, in my opinion, is on the Bulwark class. And if you're playing a fencing weapon on the Bulwark class, guess what you're pretty much always taking anyways? It's going to be an Intimidating Aura perk, because this perk will do so much free damage for you. It will do so much damage, in fact, that you'll kind of forget that you ever brought a Salamander's Power Sword. And when I took this weapon through Purgation, I found myself just power raking anyways, because power rake is just way better than like slightly stronger light attacks in one style on my weapon, and power rakes just hit more enemies and reach more enemies. And for the most part, I would go as far to say that this weapon just needs like a completely different perk effect, because right now this perk effect kind of sucks. It makes no sense. I mean, if you want to make it better, maybe give it like a burn effect on like the 3rd empower stack or something like that, or make it so the parry window is not reduced at all. But even with like no reduced parry window, this perk effect is still not very strong. So I think this one, while not a terrible weapon, this has a really weird effect for what is like pretty much expected to be a burning weapon, but no burn effect, which is very odd. But as far as the winners of this patch are concerned, the Combi-Flamer and maybe the Axe here, because I think those are the 2 best at the moment. But overall, I think they definitely need to have some huge rebalancings on these. This might actually be the worst balancing we have ever had in a public test server for new heroic weapons, because when I look at the previous ones, like the heroic Instigator and stuff like that, none of them ever felt this dog shit. But this time around, I'm glad we have a PTS, because the Salamander's Melta Rifle, this needs a huge base damage buff. and things like the Stalker bolt rifle. Please just make the perk effect work. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think about these new heroic weapons. I know some of you don't have access to the public test server because you're on consoles, but if you guys have been playing around with these, I'm pretty sure you've noticed that the public test server this time around is insanely buggy, and half these perk effects and stats feel like they're just like straight up lying to you. But that's pretty much all I have to say in this one, guys. Those are my opinions on the heroic weapons after playing with them for a bit. I will show some like build guides and some gameplay of these as well, but as far as just my overall thoughts are concerned, that's all I have to say in this one. And if you like content like this, subscribe for more. If you want to catch me live to ask me questions about the game or just come hang out, you can find me here on YouTube or on Twitch with a link in the video description. Also a link to my community Discord. And I also want to say a special thank you to my channel members. You guys have been super supportive and like helping make content like this every damn day. And as always, thank you for watching. Take it easy. Bye.